All right, let's take a look at what's grabbing the headlines around the world. Lots of papers are focusing on Hong Kong yesterday, and authorities dismantling protest camps there. Flo, tell us more.
Absolutely. There's a photo on the front page of the Wall Street Journal where you can see police actually forcefully removing a pro-democracy activist. And on the front page, it reads that Hong Kong pro-democracy protesters are cleared from these occupied areas. There's a similar photo in an article in The Guardian as well. You can also see, once again, police forcefully removing these protesters. This article says that Beijing is ending this protest, but there is a show of defiance among activists, and the article says that there was no danger of meeting their parting message. It was chanted as they were awaiting arrest, and you can see that quote there, "We will be back."
Right, well, how are a regional press dealing with this story?
Absolutely. It's a big story, as you can imagine. Front page news for China Daily. China Daily, of course, the main paper in mainland China, has always been very much opposed to this pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. This is the front page, very factual here. Protest camps are cleared around the Hong Kong government office, but China Daily really lashes out against the Occupy Central movement in its editorial today. It applauds Hong Kong police for finally clearing the illegal Occupy Central campaign. This spells defeat for the so-called umbrella revolution, the political adventure supported by outside forces that have been scheming to counter the rise of China. This political adventure is over. This defeat really sends a clear message on matters of principle. The central government will never make any concessions. And China Daily says this Occupy movement has really inflicted great damage on Hong Kong. First of all, a huge economic loss, but also it's torn the social fabric apart. Now, the editorial in South China Morning Post agrees with China Daily to a certain extent. It agrees that Hong Kong will wear scars from this Occupy Central protest, and these scars won't heal overnight. South China Morning Post supported the pro-democracy movement until it became violent, but it tries to be optimistic today. It says, let's now find a way to move forward. We need to find better ways to work together as a community. The political reform, the flashpoint for the protests, has to be the starting point.
All right, Flo, well, moving away from Hong Kong, another major story we're covering today is the death of the senior Palestinian official.
Absolutely. Independent sums up the situation quite well. One death, two very different explanations today. Of course, we've been seeing their conflicting autopsy reports. According to Palestinian doctors, Ziyad Abu Ein died from a heart attack after being struck during a protest he was leading in the West Bank, but an Israeli medical team is pointing to a pre-existing heart condition. The Independent says that his death has really come to symbolize an irreconcilable conflict. Now, Al Hayat, that's a pan-Arab paper based in London, is very critical of what they call an assassination. And they say that ever since Palestine was granted observer status at the UN in 2012, Israel's policy towards Palestine has been one of knee-jerk violence. And it points out that this is a strategy by Israel to really crush hope amongst Palestinians. According to this article, this latest act of violence is actually a message as well for all sorts of European parliaments that recently have symbolically voted to recognize the Palestinian state. Of course, we've seen France, the UK, Spain, etc. The Jerusalem Post is also focusing on his death today in their editorial, and they point out that his death is really likely to unleash a new wave of violence. To quote the article, it says that everything should be done on both the Israeli and the Palestinian side to prevent matters from spiraling out of control.
And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on those events this Friday. All right, just finally then, Flo, papers around the world are reacting to this fallout, if you will, of the US Senate report on the CIA's enhanced interrogation program.
Absolutely. It's on the front page of two major British papers today. The Guardian, first of all, focuses on the fact that spy agencies in the UK asked the U.S. to hide British links in that damning report. That was you just got a sneak peek of The Independent, which is also focusing on this Senate report. It reports that Britain is actually accused of using evidence obtained by torture from a Guantanamo inmate, this man in question, Mosam Beg. Now, the U.S., of course, has been coming under fire this week from all sorts of countries for this damning report, including countries with shady human rights records themselves, like China. China Daily, rather, has a cartoon today where you can see U.S. human rights really going through a rough patch, represented by the Statue of Liberty here. After the storm caused by the Ferguson protest, well, that storm is handing over a baton to the storm caused by this torture report.
All right, Flo, thanks very much for keeping us up to date with all the international papers.